Good morning, students. Yesterday we have defined what is couple, torque due to couple, a system of two equal and opposite forces acting at two different lines, acting at two different points on a object constitutes a couple. Now let us consider there is a rod. There is a rod AB like this. There is a rod AB like this, and it is acted upon by two forces. The two forces are not perpendicular. The forces are acting at an angle. Suppose one force is acting in the vertically upward direction. This is a F, and there is another force acting vertically downward direction. Now the forces are not acting perpendicular. There is an angle between them. Let theta be an angle between them. So two equal and opposite forces. Two equal and opposite forces acting at two different lines constitute a couple. Then how to calculate moment of couple? Calculation of moment of couple. Now the angle between the rod and the forces is theta. Let the length of the rod be d. Consider a light rod of length d. Two equal and opposite forces plus F and minus F act at an angle theta as shown at points A and B respectively, at points A and B respectively. Now by yesterday's definition, now we will calculate moment of couple. Moment of couple is a vector quantity. It is nothing but torque due to couple. You can denote it by C, or you can also denote it by tau, torque due to couple. By definition, it is B vector cross F vector, where B vector is AB vector. You see, yesterday we got it as AB vector. If you recall the yesterday's equation, it is AB vector versus F vector. AB vector versus F vector. Now, AB is in this direction, right? Now, AB can be written as B vector cross F vector. Now, what is D vector cross F vector? By definition, cross product of two vectors, D sin theta F, that is equal to D sin theta into F n cap, where n cap gives you direction of the torque. Now you see, if I keep the scale here and two forces are acting, one is acting vertically downwards, another one is acting vertically upwards. So this rod tends to turn clockwise. So this force tends to turn clockwise, and this force also tends to turn clockwise. That constitutes moment of couple. So clockwise rotation. So if it is a clockwise rotation, you turn your palm clockwise. When you turn the four fingers of the palm clockwise, the thumb points inwards. The thumb points inwards. So the direction of the torque is perpendicular to the plane of the board. Perpendicular to the plane of the board, pointing inwards. Pointing inwards. On the other hand, if the forces are in a different sense, if one force is acting in the upward direction, another force is acting vertically downward direction, then it will tend to rotate in the anti-clockwise sense. That will be constituting anti-clockwise couple. Now here in this case, it is constituting clockwise sense. Clockwise sense of moment of couple. Clockwise sense of couple. Now what is d sin theta from the diagram? So here the angle is theta. If this is angle theta, this is also angle theta, then draw a perpendicular. The perpendicular distance between the forces. The perpendicular distance between the forces. This becomes the perpendicular distance between the forces. And what will be this length? That becomes the perpendicular length. So that is from this right angle triangle. This is right angle triangle. So this is definitely going to be d sin theta. Or even you can take this side. So that's going to be d sin theta. So d sin theta multiplied by force. So from the diagram, d sin theta is nothing but perpendicular distance. That is perpendicular distance between the lines of actions of the forces, between the forces, into magnitude of force, So this gives you torque into n cap. So n cap gives you direction of torque. So here the couple due to torque due to couple, you can say torque due to couple, tend to rotate the rod in clockwise sense. So n cap, therefore n cap is the direction of couple. N cap is perpendicular to the plane of the board. Pointing inwards. So that is clear from the diagram. So in general, moment of couple, the magnitude of moment of couple is now defined as, in general, magnitude of moment of couple is perpendicular distance multiplied by magnitude of force. So this itself, d perpendicular into f, or you can write it as d sin theta into f. So this gives us the magnitude of couple. So if the forces are not acting perpendicular, then we have to consider the perpendicular distance using this diagram by considering the trigonometry. Now the SI unit of couple or moment of couple, SI unit of couple or moment of couple or torque, it is always same. Perpendicular distance is measured in meter. force is measured in Newton. So Newton meter. So SI unit of couple or moment of couple is Newton meter, which is also Joule. Here you are getting another physical quantity which is having same unit as that of energy, same unit as that of work done. So work done also has the same SI unit, Joule or Newton meter. Energy also has the same SI unit, Newton meter or Joule. In the same way, even the torque or torque due to couple also has the same SI unit, Newton meter or Joule. Dimensions are also same. So these are the two physical quantities having the same dimensions and same SI unit. But work done or energy is a scalar quantity. Work done or energy is a scalar quantity. Whereas the torque, moment of couple or torque is a vector quantity. It is a vector quantity which is determined with the help of right hand thumb rule, right hand grip rule or right hand screw rule. Okay, now let us learn the next important thing, principle of moments. Let us now learn principle of moments. Before we learn principle of moments, first let us learn what is a lever. Lever is like a rod. You must have seen beside our auditorium there is a huge globe, and this globe is being lifted with the help of some children. Some 3-4 children are there. They are trying to lift that globe with the help of a support. Having a rod in their hand, they are trying to lift that. That is an example of lever. You must have played seesaw in children's park. Science park also it is there. So lever is a rod which is having a load on one side with a support at one point, a particular point with a support, and effort is being put on the other side. So this constitutes a lever. So what is a lever? First write it. It's essentially a light rod pivoted at a point along its length. Lever is a light rod which is pivoted, at a point, along its length. This point of pivot, or what we call it as support, point of support is called fulcrum. It is called as fulcrum, denoted by F. So, if for example, if this is a heavy stone needs to be lifted from the ground. So, if this heavy rock needs to be lifted from the ground, then it requires some 5 or 6 children to lift it, and it is very difficult and inconvenient also. Suppose you are provided with a rod, iron rod. If this is an iron rod, then you will search for a support. Here you will be keeping one support. Suppose I am just showing it as a support. Then with the help of this rod, you are applying force here. This is going to be point of effort. This is going to be point of effort, and this is the support, what we call as fulcrum. And here is the load. The load is exerting weight vertically downwards. So this weight is lifted, heavy load is lifted with the help of less effort at another point using this rod, and this acts as a lever. So you will come across such levers in your day-to-day life. You need to observe them. Another example of a lever is the beam bar of the weighing balance. The bar of the weighing balance, if you observe, it acts as a lever. So one side weight should be kept, another side the things to be measured, like maybe vegetables or grocery, they will be kept. So they will be weighed. So the weight which is taken here, the weight, standard weight, acts as a load, and the things which are taken here, like any vegetable like potato and all, this acts as a effort. And here there will be point of pivot. Here it will be suspended. Here at this point it will be suspended, or it will be held like this. So this bar, horizontal bar, acts as a lever. Beam bar of a balance acts as a lever. So one side load, another side effort. Exactly at the middle you will have a point of support. This is acting as fulcrum. So therefore a lever has three parts. One part is load, another part is fulcrum, and the third part is effort. So you can just remember L, F, E are the three important parts of a lever. So put I here, that becomes life. It is easy to remember what are the parts of a lever: load, effort, fulcrum, and this I represents the first order lever. There are three orders of lever: first order lever, second order lever, and third order lever. So we will learn them later. First we will learn lever of first order: load at one end, effort at another end, and fulcrum in between, which will be acting as a point of pivot, point of support. So this acts as a lever of first order, life, easy to remember. L-I-F-E, life, easy to remember, lever of first order. What are the levers of second order, third order? We will learn them later. Okay. Now, what is principle of moments? Now we will learn principle of moments, which is very, very interesting, and you will be coming across number of numerical problems based on this principle of moments and number of applications also. Now let us consider there is a lever of length D. AB is the length of this lever, a long rod, and here is the position of fulcrum. Suppose the load is taken at point A and the force due to load is represented by F1. Let F1 represent the force due to the load. I can write here load. The weight of the load is acting vertically downwards. Think that there is a heavy rock, and here this is being kept with the help of a support here, and effort is being applied at this point B. At this point B, and this force of effort is denoted by F2. Another force F2. So this you can represent it as effort, where F2 represents the force of effort. So when it is in equilibrium, then it is called as lever. Lever is in mechanical equilibrium. When the lever is in mechanical equilibrium, when the lever is in mechanical equilibrium, we apply the conditions of translational equilibrium and rotational equilibrium. When the forces are acting vertically downwards, F1 and F2 like this, there is a force which is acting along the point of fulcrum, point of support, which is acting vertically upwards. This is reaction force. This is what we call it as reaction force. Right? Now we measure this distance as we have taken AF as the distance, and let us take this distance as D1. D1 is the distance of load or distance of F1 from fulcrum, and D2 is the distance of force F2, distance of force F2 from the fulcrum. Okay, these distances are very, very important. Now when the lever is in equilibrium, then it is under equilibrium translationally as well as rotationally. Then it is in translational equilibrium as well as rotational equilibrium. Now let us apply the condition of translational equilibrium. Condition of translational equilibrium. The load is just lifted so that the P bar or the rod is in this situation. The condition of translational equilibrium. The sum of all the forces must be equal to 0. Vector F1 plus vector F2 plus vector R must be equal to 0. So vector R plus vector F1 plus vector F2 equal to 0. This is the condition of translational equilibrium. Now let us consider only the magnitudes. F1 and F2 are acting vertically downwards, therefore we can take them negative. And R is acting vertically upwards, we can take it positive. Therefore, if you write in terms of magnitudes, then it becomes R minus F1 minus F2 becomes equal to 0. This implies the total reaction force exerted at the fulcrum, at the support, must be equal to sum of the forces F1 plus F2. Sum of the forces F1 plus F2. Then only it will be in translational equilibrium. Neither the lever is moving downwards, nor the lever is moving upwards. This is the condition of translational equilibrium. Now we will write condition of rotational equilibrium. Condition of rotational equilibrium. The sum of the torques must be equal to 0. What are the torques here? Look at this. There are two torques. One is the torque due to force F1, that is load. Another one is the torque due to force F2, that is F1. So the torque due to F1, R cross F, D1 cross F1. If you look at this, the angle between them is 90 degrees. So D sin theta, D sin 90 becomes D. So it becomes D1 F1. So D1 F1 tend to rotate. If you just take your arm, your palm, and turn it towards F1, you see it is tending to turn in the anti-clockwise sense. So the thumb is pointing towards you. So it tends to turn in the anti-clockwise sense. Right? So this anti-clockwise sense, this moment of this torque should be taken positive. Anti-clockwise movement should be taken positive. Then look at this second one. F2 is acting in this direction and D2 is again an angle of 90 degree between D2 and F2. So if you again stretch it and turn it towards F2, D2 cross F2, see that gives you the torque. Now it is acting vertically inwards. So this is how it is tending to rotate in the clockwise sense. So the torque due to F2 is tending to rotate it in the clockwise sense. So that torque we are taking it as negative. So moment of force which is tending to rotate in the clockwise sense is taken negative, and moment which is tending to rotate in the anti-clockwise sense is taken positive. This is for our sign conventionally. So I will write here D1 F1, D1 F1, because angle between them is 90 degrees, so sin 90 becomes 1. D1 F1, which is positive, minus D2 F2, which is negative because of the moment which is anti-clockwise, moment which is clockwise, minus D2 F2 is equal to 0. So you can just write here moment calculated for, so you can just write clockwise moment. First we will write anti-clockwise moment is taken positive, clockwise moment is taken negative. Therefore, it is D1 F1 minus D2 F2 equal to 0. This implies sum of the torques is equal to 0. If D1 F1 is tau 1 and D2 F2 is tau 2, so sum of the torques is equal to 0. So this is the condition of rotational equilibrium. So that values I have written here. So this implies D1 F1 is equal to D2 F2. So this gives us a very important principle, that is called as principle of moments. These are the anti-clockwise moments and clockwise moment respectively. What is principle of moments? Look at the diagram. What is given? The distance of F1 or distance of load from the fulcrum. It is called as load arm. D1 is called as load arm. Right? And this D2 is called as effort arm. Effort arm. So this is easy to remember. So D1 into F1, look at this. D1 into F1 can be written as load arm into load. Load arm into load equal to effort arm into effort. That's it. That itself becomes principle of moments. Principle of moments. So I will write here separately principle of moments, which is obtained from the condition of both translational equilibrium and rotational equilibrium. Load arm into load is equal to effort arm into effort. So this is evident from this equation. D1 F1 equal to D2 F2. D1 F1 is equal to D2 F2. Now from this we are defining one more important quantity. It is called mechanical advantage. Very interesting. Let us define what is mechanical advantage. Now we will define what is mechanical advantage. Mechanical advantage is the ratio of weight of the load to the amount of effort. Both are forces only. Load is measured in terms of F1 from the diagram and effort is measured in terms of F2 from the diagram. So this ratio of weight of the load by the amount of effort is called as mechanical advantage. How is it advantage? Look at from the equation. So from this equation F1 by F2 we want. So from this I can write F1 by F2 is equal to F1 by F2 is equal to D2 by D1. D2 by D1. So this one I can write directly F1 by F2 is equal to d2 by d1. So from the diagram, you see here effort arm which is d2 is quite longer than load arm which is d1. Effort arm is quite greater than the load arm d1. Therefore, although f1 is greater than f2, we require less amount of force. So, or you can just say, since d2 is greater than d1, d2 by d1 is greater than 1. d2 by d1 is greater than 1. So, this implies f1 by f2 is greater than 1. Mechanical advantage is greater than 1. It means what? Load by effort is greater than 1. Even though load is very heavy, maybe 50 kilo, 100 kilo, you require only less effort to lift that load with the help of lever. This is called as mechanical advantage. So, if mechanical advantage is greater than 1, then load you can say F1 is greater than F2, that is effort required is less than load. This is the mechanical advantage. So for any lever, we must have mechanical advantage greater than 1. Lever or simple machine we are going to learn. It is not there in the syllabus, but I will explain you what is a simple machine. Simple machine should have a mechanical advantage greater than 1. Then the effort that we are applying to lift that load will be less than the actual load. This is the advantage of principle of moments. Okay. So principle of moments from this discussion is product of load arm and load is equal to effort arm into effort. F1 d1 equal to F2 d2. This is called as principle of moments. Okay. In the next video session, we will learn about, we will solve numerical problems. There are various types of numerical problems, and I will give you the meaning of second order lever, third order lever if you are interested, because it is not there for syllabus. I think you are supposed to learn in the primary school itself. And you are quite familiar with the items which are there in our science park to demonstrate what is first order lever, what is second order lever and third order lever. But still then I will explain it in the next video session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.